So Jimmy Kimmel was doing it. Oh yeah, he was doing it too.
Yeah, he was doing it too.
Yeah. No, he was being accused of joking about it too.
Yes. So they were upset at him, even though he was attacking the appropriate person. He was doing it in a manner which is also construed as being transphobic. Like they were saying that his tweet is transphobic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host the Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for he-he's and ha-ha's.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
Joe Rogan came out swinging with the force of a heavyweight, and Jimmy Kimmel never saw it coming. Kimmel thought he was being clever, tossing a cheap shot at MAGA, but Rogan turned that moment into a firestorm. With zero hesitation, Rogan torched him for running his mouth without checking the facts, ripping straight into how late-night comedy has crumbled into nothing more than a political soapbox for left-wing talking points. The clash wasn't just heated, it was brutal, raw, and impossible to ignore. What followed wasn't some mild disagreement, it was a total demolition, the kind of takedown that left no room for survival. Rogan's smackdown scorched the stage and left Kimmel's credibility in ashes. This wasn't comedy anymore, it was carnage on live display.
That sort of self-censorship and the idea of being a more empathetic person is a good thing, right? But as long as it's reasonable. But the thing is, the problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole.
Suddenly, the tables turned, and Jimmy Kimmel was the one getting roasted. He wasn't just criticized, he was scolded for daring to laugh at a simple pronoun gag, a move that sent shockwaves through his carefully crafted image as the darling of late-night TV. The so-called champion of the woke crowd had his own messy run-in with the very patrol he often cheers for, and it was pure chaos. Rogan pounced on the hypocrisy like a lion spotting its prey. And he didn't hold back for a second. He pointed out that this wasn't just a slip. It exposed the rotten core of double standards eating away at late-night comedy. Rogan didn't sugarcoat it. He called the whole thing flat out a problem, stripping away the gloss and leaving Kimmel looking cornered and exposed in front of the world.
Which is pretty funny. But then...
Did he really?
Yes. And so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him for participating in a joke about pronouns.
You can't wave the banner for a cause 1 minute and then mock it the next just because it's convenient, especially if you've painted yourself as the poster boy for that very movement. That's the trap Jimmy Kimmel fell into, and Rogan made sure everyone noticed. Sure, the bit was aimed at Elon Musk and everyone knew it, but come on. Kimmel had 100 other angles he could have used if he really wanted to land a punchline. Instead, he chose the exact issue he claims to champion, proving that his loyalty to the cause is nothing more than a stage act. The irony couldn't have been louder if it screamed from the microphone. And when the footage rolled, the hypocrisy lit up like fireworks. Kimmel exposed himself with his own so-called comedy.
He was doing it too.
Yeah, he was doing it too.
Yeah. No, he was being accused of joking about it too.
So they were upset at him, even though he was attacking the appropriate person. He was doing it in a manner which is also construed as being transphobic. Like they were saying that his tweet is transphobic.
Do you think that was, in that case, do you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host the Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel once co-helmed The Man Show, a wild, unapologetic spectacle that thrived on pushing boundaries and firing off edgy humor at every corner of culture. Back then, he wasn't chasing approval from political elites or bending the knee to ideology. He was chasing laughs, and he did it without fear. The show was brash, raw, and unfiltered, and audiences loved every second of it. It was a smash hit, a juggernaut that won him a massive following and carved out his place in comedy history. That runaway success catapulted him onto ABC, where he landed his own coveted late-night gig. But here's the twist that stings. Today's Kimmel would be unrecognizable to the man he once was. The fearless comedian who once went for the laugh above all else is gone, replaced by a shackled version tied down to politics, parroting talking points instead of delivering punchlines. What used to be comedy gold has been traded for ideological chains, and the difference is glaring.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, and I think also, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had to apologize for them. And I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction. I mean, that's just speculation. But he, now is a guy that goes after people like Elon Musk.
I'm siding with Rogan on this one, and it's not even close. Just look at the long list of causes Jimmy Kimmel has latched onto. He's practically turned himself into a walking advertisement for the progressive agenda. Over the years, he's gone all in on vaccines, waved the banner for gender fluidity, and even pushed the hot-button issue of biological men competing in women's sports. Time after time, Kimmel has transformed his late-night stage into a megaphone for woke politics, squeezing in progressive talking points at every opportunity. But here's the kicker. It's not comedy anymore, it's activism dressed up in a late-night suit. The punchlines have been replaced with lectures, and the audience knows it. The same fans who once tuned in to laugh until their sides hurt are now stuck being preached at like they're sitting in a classroom. And the fallout? It's obvious. He's alienated the very people who once built his success, all because he swapped humor for politics.
He's willing to put people on with uncomfortable opinions, and he's releasing people that were banned from Twitter because of things that they had said. He's like, as long as you haven't done anything illegal, I'll let you back on.
No, yeah.
So he's doing a lot of that. So it's a lot of people are upset by that because then they think, well, you're platforming bigots and hateful people, and it's a weird conversation.
And that's where the glaring double standard of the left explodes into full view. Not long ago, they were celebrating censorship, gleefully silencing and shaming anyone who dared to rattle their bubble of comfort. They cheered as voices were canceled, mocked, and erased from the stage, and leading that chorus of ridicule, Jimmy Kimmel himself. He didn't just nod along. He piled on with insults, mocking Elon Musk for daring to stand up for free speech and throwing cheap shots his way. Fast forward to today, and suddenly Kimmel and his woke crew want to parade around as defenders of open expression. Please, spare us the performance. The very people who punished others for speaking out now cry foul when the spotlight flips and exposes them. Rogan, of course, isn't fooled for a second. He calls it exactly what it is: pathetic double standards dressed up as virtue. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife, and it reeks of desperation.
I'm a free speech believer. I think the way to counter someone's inappropriate, even someone like Kanye West that says ridiculous shit, anti-Semitic things, the way to counter that is to counter that with more thoughtful opinions on what he's saying and point out that what he's saying is inaccurate in many ways, hurtful in many ways. Like, point it out. Like, talk. Let's have discussion. Don't silence the guy.
Now Kimmel is choking on the bitter fruit of the very seeds he planted with the woke mob. Years ago, when censorship was the trend, he proudly marched at the front of the parade, mocking, ridiculing, and silencing anyone who dared to step outside the progressive script. Instead of defending free speech, a principle meant to protect everyone, no matter their politics, he joined the cancel crusade with a grin. He cheered as voices were muzzled and careers destroyed, all in the name of progress. But now, the tables have turned, and Kimmel is feeling the sting of the very culture he helped nurture. The irony is brutal. Had he defended open expression back then, even when it was unpopular, he wouldn't be trapped in this cage today. Rogan's message couldn't be sharper. You can't gag people for years and then play the victim when the blade finally swings back your way. Kimmel built this firestorm with his own hands, and now he's getting burned by the flames.
Are you chilled? Are you in fear for the future of comedy and free speech?
Well, Will, first of all, I woke up this morning to the incredible shock that apparently TV shows are not guaranteed in our Constitution. I mean, wow. So that was tough to swallow.
Rob Schneider may wrap it in humor, but he nailed the cold, hard truth about free speech. The First Amendment isn't a blank check you can wave around whenever you want. It doesn't shield you from the consequences of what you say at work. Between boss and employee, the rules are crystal clear. Your words reflect the brand, and if you step out of line, the fallout is yours to own, including the pink slip. And that's the very wall Jimmy Kimmel slammed headfirst into. He assumed he could mouth off without blowback, thinking his platform made him untouchable. But Hollywood doesn't play that game. Schneider's reminder cuts like a razor. The Constitution shields you from the government, not from your paycheck. That's the brutal reality Kimmel learned the hard way. In Hollywood, free speech always comes with a hefty price tag. And when you cross the line like Kimmel did, that bill lands squarely at your feet.
First. Second, I'm still waiting for the left, the liberals, to get outraged about Roseanne getting fired for her free speech. And then I'm also waiting, I've been waiting a long time for the left and the Democrats, especially the Democrats on Capitol Hill, with the Twitter files that released that the Biden-Harris administration was actually using the government to pressure Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and especially Twitter to actually censor actual Americans through government pressure.
Well, sorry to break it to you, but if you're waiting for the left to condemn the Biden-Harris administration for leaning on ABC to boot Roseanne Barr, you'll be waiting forever. Accountability? Nowhere in sight. They brush the whole thing under the rug like it never happened, sidestepping blatant political interference as if the public wouldn't notice. And ABC wasn't the only pawn in play. Team Biden leaned hard on the social media giants too, urging them to muzzle dissent and disguise censorship as safety. Back then, the left cheered like it was some noble crusade, applauding as voices were silenced. But now, when the spotlight flips, suddenly they're crying victim, posing as champions of open dialogue. The hypocrisy is staggering. It's justice when they silence others, but tyranny when they face the same treatment. Rogan's take cuts straight to the bone. You don't get to have it both ways. If you cheered censorship yesterday, you can't pretend to be a free speech warrior today.
Capitalist pressure is really important because what happens is you have to make money or you have to do something of value so that you can get something in return. Now, the interesting thing is it's false advertising because honestly, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that. But the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said. And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix. This isn't cable. This is broadcast TV.
Kimmel's downfall wasn't just about bad jokes. It was a full-blown collapse in every direction. His ratings tanked, his once loyal advertisers started sweating bullets, and the sponsors who fueled his show began asking why their money was circling the drain. In television, ad dollars are oxygen, and when sponsors threatened to pull the plug on ABC entirely, the writing was on the wall. Fed up with Kimmel's polarizing rants and tasteless bits, they saw his show not as entertainment, but as a liability dragging their brands through the mud. And then came his fatal misstep, smearing the MAGA crowd, a group that makes up nearly half the nation. That wasn't edgy, it was career suicide. By turning late night into his own political pulpit, Kimmel didn't just lose laughs. He lost viewers, trust, and the very sponsors keeping his show alive. In the end, ABC had zero reason to bankroll a sinking ship weighed down by one man's arrogance.
And when you have broadcast TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket because they are there to present news to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night. Right. Mislead and lie, and actually was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, if what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it.
Jimmy Kimmel has no one to blame but himself for the wreckage of his career. He was handed a stage designed to entertain millions, a platform built for comedy and connection. And instead, he twisted it into a weapon against MAGA. That wasn't comedy. It was a personal crusade disguised as entertainment, and it reeked of self-interest. Rather than cracking jokes and delivering the laughter people tuned in for, Kimmel used late-night television as a soapbox to push whatever political agenda fit the moment. But here's the problem. Viewers didn't sign up for propaganda, they signed up to laugh. By hijacking the platform to settle scores, he didn't just irritate a few fans. He alienated half the country. And worse, he shredded his own credibility in the process. In chasing vendettas instead of value, Kimmel sabotaged his own show and tarnished his name. His downfall wasn't a stroke of bad luck. It was the inevitable price of choosing politics over punchlines, and it came crashing down harder than he ever expected.
When 246 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this, it's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who was a great guy over there, Sean Compton, said, that's it. He's the CEO and said, when we have complaints like this and none of the channels, 246, because I'm sorry, it's not just LA and New York. There are people in between who have a real sense of decency and who realize that what you had here was you had someone who wanted to have conversations and debate.
Here's the shocking part. Every single one of the 246 TV stations agreed that Jimmy Kimmel's remarks crossed the line. Total unanimity, something you almost never see in broadcasting, and that alone speaks volumes. These weren't just random critics shouting from the sidelines. These were stations that survive on audience trust, and they know exactly how the public feels. And yet, a handful of woke media outlets are now scrambling to spin the story, bending over backwards to defend Kimmel's reckless tirade. It's laughable. Are we really supposed to believe 246 stations all got it wrong, but a few ideologically driven outlets somehow nailed it? Please, the math doesn't add up, and the truth couldn't be clearer. The overwhelming majority saw Kimmel's comments for what they really were: distasteful, damaging, and completely indefensible. No amount of woke apologetics can change that verdict. The defense is flimsy, the evidence overwhelming, and the jury has spoken. Kimmel's credibility is toast.